Well, hi everyone. It's Bronie here again for another day in Bronie's world, and at Bronie's desk, it's our fortnightly chat with the most amazing pharmacist Ben, all the way over there in Colorado. Is it snowing, Ben?
No, come on. It's beautiful. That's a
Beautiful
myth.
day where I am, but anyway, look, we'll just get this show on the road
If I
because
may say so, you look especially sparkling and beautiful today, Bronwyn.
oh, thank you very much.
Just
Oh,
point that out.
that's quite surprising.
Oh, is that Lori? Lori Brassel's on the call here.
Yes, she
Hi,
is.
Lori.
Is.
And
We have
Lori.
people on the call today, and
Oh.
today here in Australia it's the 4th of February, and today would have been my sister Delwyn, who you've helped before. It would have been her 62nd birthday, so this is her first birthday in heaven today. So, but anyway,
All right, we'll dedicate the show to her.
I will dedicate this show to my little sister Delwyn. And today, Diane Shelley, as I sent you a message, look, she's a wealth of information, this lady, but she would like us to talk about heart disease because she's had a few people having stents and not good outcomes. And my mother had a stent and didn't have a good outcome either. So heart disease and how we can prevent people having to get to that point of getting a stent. And what are the causes
a stent?
why
What the
people
heck is,
need to get a stent?
what the heck is a stent anyway? Anyway, what is a stent?
Well, it's a little tube, plastic,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
yeah.
They kind of spread things out and
Yeah.
they support weakness. So what do we say? All disease is cell disease, right? You've heard that's one of our sayings, right?
Yes.
But all cell disease is what? Preceded by when peeps out there. All disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood.
Dirty blood. Thank you,
Remember that. That's very, very important because one of our jobs here, my job as a healthcare professional, distributors' jobs, and even just regular folks who are helping their parents or their kids or their friends or family, loved one, whatever. We want to simplify things. The obfuscation is a strategy that authorities use to confuse you and to make you feel disempowered. Do you ever get on the, do you ever sign up for an app online and you're supposed to click agree and there's 80 pages of things that there's no possible way anybody could possibly understand what it says or possibly read. And all you want to do is get an app. So you just hit agree.
Yes.
All right. Legal documents are like that. Lawyers love doing that. Politicians love doing that with bills. They know nobody's ever going to read them. It just makes it obfuscates, it confuses, it creates a sense of just do whatever, I don't care. Medical model is a classic example. That really all institutions do that. It's a way of maintaining their power. So what we do is we simplify, we reduce. And I've said this so many times, I'll say it again. Health is not medical. Health is not medical. Health is not medical. I didn't stutter. I said it 3 times because it's so important. Health is not medical. It's lifestyle, and the body is logical. Health is based on our lifestyle, and it's based on logic.
Yeah.
You understand how you understand how the body kind of performs in a general sense. You have to understand the molecular, all the different molecules and all the different reactions and all the different genes and all the different ways it's all put together. It's endlessly complex, but you don't need to know that. Because the body wants to heal. We just got to push it in the right direction. It's kind of like when you're pushing a swing, right? When you're pushing a kid's swing, have you ever noticed that when you're pushing your kid's swing, if you can hit it just right, you just have to touch it and it goes, right? Yeah, that's actually a physics phenomena. You just touch it and it goes. That's how the body is because it's already going. You just have to touch it in the right place. And so, unfortunately, in this country, and even worse in Australia and in countries where they have free medicine, we have come to believe that when we're not healthy, we go to a doctor. When we're not healthy, we go to medicine. When we're not healthy, we somehow get some kind of intervention that involves drugs or surgeries or x-rays or electrocutions or whatever it is. This is a con job of the highest degree. Don't fall for it. And I'm saying that especially to my friends in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, and Europe, where they have free medicine, because the incentive is there just to say, forget it, I'm going to go to the doctor, it's free. I'm not going to spend money on supplements. I can go for free and get drugs. And that's the incentive, but it doesn't work. It doesn't help. We have more doctors per capita than any other culture in the history of mankind, in the Western countries. And we're sicker and fatter and more diabetes ridden and longevity drops. It doesn't help because health is not medical. And by the way, this is not because doctors are dumb or bad. This is not, the doctors themselves are good people. I was just in the hospital yesterday with a friend of mine. She had an emergency. The most beautiful souls, just the sweetest, kindest, most empathetic and compassionate and gentle. It was just so beautiful to be with these healthcare professionals, the nurses and the doctors and the EMTs. Anybody who's been in a hospital in this country, I imagine in other countries as well, you know, you can feel that. It's not about them. It's about the model that's been put in place by corporatocracy, by corporations. Don't fall for it. So when it comes to heart disease, all disease is cell disease, and all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. All of it. Parkinson's disease, autoimmune diseases of all kinds, dementia, you name it, whatever it is, there's no such thing as a chronic degenerative disease. I'm distinguishing that from infections and trauma. We'll leave that aside because that's really how we get sick. We get infections, bacterial infections, viral infections and such, or a rock hits us on the head, or God forbid we get into a car accident, whatever, traumas, and then chronic degenerative disease. This is about chronic trauma and infectious, 20% maybe, 15, 20%. 80% or more is chronic degenerative disease. It's lifestyle. All the questions, most of the questions we get asked here are chronic degenerative disease. Chronic means it just goes on and on and on. Degenerative means it degenerates, it gets worse. And disease means the body is out of ease. When it comes to chronic degenerative disease, there is no such thing as a chronic degenerative disease without dirty blood. Dirty blood is the foundation of every disease state. And when you think about it, it makes sense because look, the blood is circulating everywhere.
Yeah.
So if anything's in the blood, it's going to go head to toe. It's going to go everywhere. There's poisons in the blood, toxins in the blood. The blood is also supposed to deliver nutrients and hormones and glucose and various energizing molecules. And if the blood is not doing its job efficiently, nothing's going to get fed. And if the blood is, perhaps its most important role is to deliver oxygen. And if it doesn't do that, you're going to suffocate functionally. When I say suffocate, I don't mean emphysema type suffocate, but your cells won't get oxygen. So all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Now I'm working here logically, so I want to make sure everybody understands that. All disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. And when I talk about dirty blood, I'm going to use your kind of mind's eye, your imagination here. When we think about the blood, it just seems like it's a liquid, right? It's just some red stuff that floats around your blood and your body. It's not. It's a very complex tissue or organ, if you will. It's very, very, very complex. It doesn't look complex to the naked eye, but if you put it under a microscope, you'll see all kinds of stuff happening in there. All kinds of chemical reactions and molecules and transporting things, carrying back and forth, and just a phenomenal amount of activity. It's densely complicated with materials that need to be kept at just the right temperature, just the right acid level or pH, just the right amount of hydration or water, just the right amount of fluidity and movement. Everything is kept just so. Just perfect. Just exactly perfect under healthy conditions. Fortunately, the body has a process called homeostasis, which you may have heard of, which means when things get too thick, they get thin. When they get too thin, they get thick. When they get, it adjusts. Highs go low, lows go high. It's constantly in this balancing act. So if you understand the blood it has to be the qualities of the blood are precise and highly specific and super nanostructured and architected, and everything is perfect. You can start to understand that if something gets into the blood inappropriately, you got a problem. You got a big problem. And for most of us, we don't have to worry about that because the blood is kept inside. It's separated from everything else. It's kept in vessels. There's no blood outside of the vessels unless there's something wrong. The blood is in vessels. So most of us don't have to worry about it except for two places. Number one is if you go through the skin and inject. This is why you have to be very, very, very careful about injection. And anytime I'm going to try to choose my words carefully here because it makes me very angry. Anytime somebody who purports to be a healthcare professional tells you to go ahead and inject something into your blood without knowing what it is, there's a special place in hell for that person. And it's on us if we bought into that. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's an evil thing for a healthcare professional, for a medical professional say, just stick this in. We trust the science or whatever. And you guys know what I'm saying here. There's a special place in hell for that person. Okay. But we don't want to blame that person because we'd agree to do it. Now, sometimes they tell you you can't go to a country, you can't get a job, you can't go to a movie, you can't get on a bus, you can't leave your house unless you do it. And then there's a special place in hell for that government authority that did that. Okay, so we'll leave that aside because for most people, except for recently, that's not the big issue. But we now know that people who injected themselves with you know what are now suffering from blood and heart problems. Duh, right? Hello, of course you're going to suffer from pericarditis and heart problems and blood clots. Of course you are, because you stuck something in your blood. Now, if we're just people who did it, or, regular people, we didn't know what we were doing, that's one thing. But for a healthcare professional to tell people to do that, or a government authority, there's no words to describe the evil that is. We know that people who inject drugs, crack and meth and cocaine or whatever, heroin, they suffer from, guess what? Chronic degenerative diseases. They suffer from autoimmune diseases. They suffer from movement disorders. Do you ever see what their skin looks like? They have these pictures online of people who have injected what their skin looks like. Why? Because they're going into the blood. You see what I'm saying here? You don't go into the blood. Now, leaving that aside, most of us aren't shooting up crack in the back alley. And, aside from what happened a few years ago, we'll leave that aside. There's a second place that things get into the blood. And this place is even more problematic because things have to get into the blood through this portal or through this opening. They have to, because you have to survive. And of course, what I'm talking about is the intestine. The intestine is a portal into the blood. Once things get into the bloodstream through the intestine, one of two things will happen. Either you're going to get nourished or you're going to get poisoned. Now, hopefully it's going to be more nourished, but unfortunately, because of the way we eat today, we get poisoned. So real quickly, when you eat a food, it's not technically, let me just take a quick digression. When we say something is in the body, like you'll say something got into the body, we really mean into the blood. It's a euphemism. Okay. When you ever hear, something got into my body, it doesn't mean it got into your tissue. It means it got into your blood. That's first of all. Second of all, when you eat a food, it's not in your body yet, i.e. in your blood yet. The digestive tract is segregated from the blood, i.e. the body. So when I say the blood, I mean the body, or the body, I mean the blood. It's segregated, and it's a good thing because, when we were out in the African savannah, we were eating whatever we could find. So the body had to have a way of protecting itself. The blood had to have a way of protecting itself. So it segregated it in the digestive tract. So you eat a food, it goes in your mouth, it goes down your esophagus, it goes into your stomach, it goes into your intestine. It's not technically in the body, really. It's segregated from when I say the body and the blood, it's segregated. When it gets into the intestine, that's where the outside world meets the inside world. The inside world is pristine. It's perfect. But because of its interactions with the outside world, it becomes contaminated. What's supposed to happen is when you eat a food, it gets crunched up, digested, all broken up into little pieces. It goes into the intestine. And in the intestine, the things the body needs, i.e. the blood needs, get delivered into the bloodstream carefully, judiciously. Just like when you go to Mexico, you go to Australia, you go to Canada, you go to the United States, you don't go right into the country. You go to customs and you go to immigration. You go to customs and you go to immigration. And they ask you, what are you doing here? What's in your bags? They vet you. They make sure you're okay. How long are you going to be here? What is your purpose here? Blah, blah, blah. Same thing in the body. You got customs and immigration at the level of the intestine, which is a good thing. However, because of the way we eat, because of the substances that are in our food, because of the disturbances in the bacteria that live in the intestine, because of malnutrition, because of a whole host of factors, not the least of which is stress, emotional and psychological stress, eventually the intestine starts to break down. And instead of immigration vetting all the particles, the guards get fat and lazy. They get tired. They get sleepy. They're like, they're in a union and they don't feel like working. No, I shouldn't say that. That's bad.
That's true.
Whatever.
It's good.
And so
Good
stuff starts to sneak in. One of the worst things that we do to poison the guards, to poison the immigration, to put the immigration to sleep, is fatty food, is fried fats. Not fatty foods, fried processed fats. Fried processed fats are like hitting the guards on the head with a hammer, with a mallet. Knocks them out. French fries, pizza, nachos. I don't even know what it kind of just imagine everything that's that's deep fried or heavily cooked or fried. It's one of the reasons Doc talks about, and Doc's been talking about it for years now. Now it's starting to get some press here, but he's been talking about it for years. This is one of the major problems with so-called seed oils, fried oils, heated oils, deep fried, is they inflame the intestine. They put the guards to sleep. Another thing that puts the guards to sleep that everybody knows about is gluten. Yeah. But it's not just gluten. There's other components in grains and seeds. Seeds and grains are special. Grains are a type of seed. Grains are and seeds are especially high in molecules that put the guards to sleep. These things are called lectins, Lectins. Gluten's one of them. There's a lot of them though. So if you say, I have arthritis, but I'm gluten-free, that means you're not understanding that gluten is just one of 1,000 different compounds that puts the guards to sleep. Another thing that could put the guards to sleep, and this is especially a problem for women, is estrogen that's not cleared out of the body. Once the guards go to sleep, whether it's because of estrogen or fried fats or gluten or lectins or malnourishment, two things happen. Number one, stuff sneaks into the blood. Now you got a problem. Because remember, everything is precise in the blood. Well, it's kept just so, just the right acid level, just the right hydration level, just the right fat level, just the right fluid level, fluidity, just the right temperature, just the right everything, just so. It's perfect. Now you got stuff in there, you got a problem. One of the ways the body protects itself, and this is true about all chronic degenerative disease, is with a process that is a protective process, that is a defensive process, that is a very good process because it protects us and it's defensive, but it can create problems when it happens too much and when it happens out of balance. And this is a process that we use this word all the time. Probably everybody who's in longevity used this word today or yesterday or said all the time. Inflammation. Inflammation is a protective response. You get a black eye, your eye puffs up. That's kind of a way that the body keeps everything local and protects, puts a shock absorber around the broken bone or tissue or blood vessels, whatever it is. Now you got a problem. Now you've got inflammation in the blood. The toxicity initiates an inflammatory response in the blood inflammation. Remember, the blood's no mere fluid. It's an organ. It's a tissue. It inflames. That inflamed blood is what I call sticky blood, sludgy blood. It doesn't move as effectively. It's inflamed. This is one of the ways the body protects itself, because think about it. If you get poison in the blood from gluten or from toxins from bacteria or whatever it is, I didn't mention that, but there's toxins that come in from bacteria. There's secretions like histamine that come into the blood. The body will it doesn't want all that stuff distributed. So it will kind of slow up the blood so it doesn't all get distributed. It's a protective response. It's an inflammatory response that protects all that stuff from being distributed. You got this sludgy blood. Once you have this sludgy blood, a couple things will start to happen. Number one, the blood's not going to circulate as effectively, and cells are going to be starved, and cells are going to be suffocated, and cells are going to become toxic because the blood is supposed to remove all that. Another thing that will happen is the electrical energy that's generated by the movement, as the blood is circulating, it's generating an electrical charge. It's a very interesting phenomenon. As the blood is circulating, the particles inside the blood are jostling about, and as they jostle about, electricity is generated. This phenomena of electricity being generated by little particles as they move around is so fascinating to scientists that Albert Einstein studied it before he studied quantum mechanics. Before he came up with the theory of relativity, he was studying what's called Brownian motion, which is the motion of these particles in the blood. This is a very fascinating scientific process of electricity that's generated through the movement of the blood. That doesn't happen. And then finally, the third thing that happens when you have this stuff in the blood, dirty blood, sludgy blood, is the blood, I'm using this term synonymously, the body, the blood, or interchangeably, will dump the toxins out to clean itself out. I know I'm not going to tell you the story about cleaning up my room, but that's exactly what it is. Okay, I know I've told it so many times, I don't want to tell anymore, but it's like the body will clean up its room. It'll throw the stuff out, and it throws it in the soft tissues and the connective tissue to clean itself out. It's trying to get clean. This is where autoimmune disease comes from, by the way. This is where connective tissue diseases come from, and this is where accelerated aging comes from. But we're not going to talk about that. We want to talk about the dirty, sludgy blood because we're talking about the stents and heart disease. One of the most egregious toxins that gets into the blood is really a big problem because we need to have a little of this stuff in the blood. But because we get so much of this stuff in the blood, it causes reactions, not just with the blood in terms of inflammation, but it also causes reactions with the vessels, the tubes that the blood is moving in. What is this material that we need a little bit of, that we get way too much of, that causes the blood to become sticky and causes the vasculature to become inflamed and distorted and broken?
Sugar.
Sugar, exactly.
Go on, you Grant.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Sugar. You need a little bit of sugar, small amount. At any given moment, you want to have like less than a teaspoon of sugar floating around in your blood. If you have more than a teaspoon, you're in big trouble. You drink a Coke, you got probably 6 teaspoons all of a sudden. And this is why the major cause of heart disease, and almost like a synonym for heart disease, is dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. Dysglycemia. I didn't say diabetes now. Diabetes is a technical term. It's a name, a diagnosis that's given once you reach a certain measurement, but you don't need to have that measurement, and you don't need to be a diabetic to suffer from the problem. So between the toxicity that's getting into the blood through a leaky gut, intestinal permeability, and sugar, you got two of the most important causes for cardiovascular disease, meaning blood pressure disease. Vascular means the vessels, and cardio means the heart, the whole circulatory system. Now, there's other things as well. For example, nutritional deficiencies can create problems, especially in certain issues, which we'll talk about here, like magnesium and the B vitamins and vitamin C. That can also cause a problem. Elevated stress hormones can cause a problem. Chronic inflammation can cause problems. I mean, in the rest of the body can cause problems. Anything that deprives the body of oxygen, and that could be something as simple as poor breathing techniques and as complicated as sleep apnea, can cause problems with poor oxygenation of the blood, because oxygen spreads everything out. Lack of oxygen compresses everything. One of oxygen's benefits of the body is it spreads everything, especially the blood in the blood vessels. So between cortisol, stress hormone, which is linked to hypothyroidism, so you can say both, the adrenal thyroid axis, and blood sugar, and intestinal health, you have the 3 major causes of dirty blood and ultimately all diseases, but especially cardiovascular disease, blood and heart disease. Now, for those of you who are thinking ahead or jumping ahead here, what did I just say? I just said the adrenal thyroid axis, I said the blood sugar system, and I said the digestive system, the intestine.
Triangle of disease.
A triangle of disease. Bingo. Bingo. That's where heart disease, as well as everything else, comes from. Do you see how we're reducing everything? What I'm going to tell you now about heart disease is true about Parkinson's disease. It's true about dementia. It's true about autoimmunity. It's true about cancer. It's true about psoriasis. It's true about everything. This is what we want to do, is we want to reduce this. You're going to go to the doctor and he's going to say there's no known cause. He's going to say your mother had it, so you're going to have it. It's in your genetics. He's going to say it has nothing to do with what you're eating. I've just reduced everything. So even if you don't know nothing about medicine, nothing about science, nothing about health, you could understand this the mechanisms of the bodily breakdown that leads to everything, but especially heart disease. So then so that's the problem. And you know, I eliminated a lot of stuff, but that's basically it. That's it in a nutshell, if you will, the Cliff Notes version. So what do? Well, the first thing you do is, if you want to work, you know, you really want to do it right, you want to cut the head off a snake, is you work at the level of the intestine. You do everything you can do for intestinal health, because via this mechanism of dirty blood and leaky gut, that's where it all begins. So I-26 and Daily Digest and Nightly Essence and Ultimate Microbiome and Food Diaries and an elimination diet and intermittent fasting and anything you could do to support digestive health. Eucoid Z is a very underappreciated product for soothing the intestine. For people who have leaky gut, or for people who have celiac disease or Crohn's disease or any kind of ulcerative colitis or any kind of inflammatory disease of the intestine, Eucoid Z is very calming. Likewise, the body balance. Why? Because of the algae. Algae and polysaccharides have a calming effect. The Ultimate EFAs can also help have a calming or anti-inflammatory effect on the intestine. Of course, that would be part of the Healthy Start Pack. So anything you could do to support intestinal health, from eliminating foods to intermittent fasting to using the Daily Digest and the I-26 and all the wonderful digestive support supplements that we have. Remember, they all come with the healthy, with the basics, the three products, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the OsteoFX, and the Ultimate EFAs. I should also tell you, while I'm on the subject here, the OsteoFX is marketed for people who have arthritis or osteoporosis, right? Or I think osteoporosis mostly. Yeah. But it will also help strengthen the intestine for people who have leaky gut. So OsteoFX has multiple benefits. And that always is going to be part of the entire program. Drinking a lot of water and using Beyond Tangy Tangerine, of course, with your water can also help. Eating less food, and that's part of intermittent fasting, but even just calorie restriction will help. And of course, staying away from all the bad foods, among others, that's also important. I'm just going to say this real quick because I don't want to digress too much, but when you have an intestinal problem, you're also going to be functionally malnourished because nutrients are absorbed through the intestine. So that's why the first point is so important. And you move to the second point, dysglycemia. It's no accident that heart disease and diabetes go hand in hand. And even doctors will tell you that diabetes, metabolic syndrome, whatever you want to call it, is a leading cause of and the major reason why people deal with cardiovascular disease. And really, I can't even imagine how it's possible. I don't even think it is possible to have cardiovascular disease without dysglycemia. So treating yourself like a diabetic, the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, staying away from fast-burning sugars, eating more protein, making sure that you're getting fiber with your sugary meals, making sure you're drinking liquids with your sugary meals, making sure you're moving and exercising with your sugary meals. All of these are strategies for lowering your blood sugar, particularly first thing in the morning, because the blood sugar tends to be concentrated first thing in the morning. So all the blood sugar nutrients, including the Ultimate Niacin, which actually is specific for the heart, as well as for blood sugar, and the Ultimate Selenium, which is also specific for the heart and also important for blood sugar. And then the third point on the triangle of disease is the adrenal thyroid complex. And this is where relaxation strategies come in. It's very difficult to deal with the adrenal glands on their own, but there are some nutrients that you could use. We have a product called De-Stress, which you could use if you want to focus on the adrenal glands, but you're going to really get a lot of adrenal benefits by working on the first 2 points on the triangle of disease. Zinc FX can be important. The adrenal glands zinc is very important for the adrenal glands, so the zinc FX. Vitamin C is very important for the adrenal glands, so the CFX. The ultimate EFAs are very important for the adrenal glands, so make sure you're taking enough essential fatty acids. And then the adrenal glands are kind of the link between your psychology or your psyche and your physical the physical part of your body. So working with psychological strategies, meditation, relaxation, a slow sequential muscle relaxation, starting with your feet and then working upwards where you relax your body. Remember, Bronie, how we did that?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yep.
do a muscle relaxation. Anything you could do to help relax the muscles. This is one of the major reasons why people have insomnia, because the muscles are tense and contracted. We go through life, we don't even notice. You know, if you're driving, when you're driving on the highway and you have to merge on, or you're driving on a street and you have to merge into a busy highway, notice that your toes kind of curl for a second, right? Right before you have to do it, for a split second, you start to contract. The contraction response is a fundamental part of the fear response. All organisms do this, from little tiny bacteria to potato bugs to plants to cells to our bodies. We contract when we're in fear, and this contraction tells the body it's in danger. The body perceives contraction as a sign that there's a threat, and so it'll start firing off all the threat chemicals, and the threat chemicals will constrict the blood vessels in certain parts of the body, and this can cause further problems with blood flow. So learning to open things up is especially important when you go to bed at night, sleep. If you're have insomnia or you can't fall asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night, you'll notice that there's some contraction, some bodily contraction that's occurring, and learning to just relax and open everything up is very important for helping open everything up. Literally, if you're constipated, or if you have high blood pressure, or if you have arthritis, or you have scoliosis, opening everything up. This can happen. You can do this slow, deep breathing practices. You can do this through stretching. You can do this through muscle relaxation. You can do this through psychological strategies like gratitude and forgiveness, all of which have an opening effect, spread everything out. It's no, you know, I often think of when we hear that we're supposed to be saved, right? Are you saved? Bronie, are you saved?
Yes.
Lori, are you saved? Right? I think that's a kind of misreading. It doesn't mean that you're saved. It means you're safe.
Yeah.
When you're safe, everything opens up. When you're safe, Jesus said, I come to give you life and life more abundantly. Because when you feel safe, you have life more abundant. You're opening up. You can receive more. This is how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be like an open cup, not like a closed shop, a store that's closed for the night. We're supposed to be open. Be receiving to receive. So there's psychological strategies that you can use as well. For improving blood flow, one of the best things you could do is movement. It's no accident that they say smoking or a sedentary lifestyle is the new smoking. Sitting is the new smoking, I think they say. Sitting is the new smoking. It's because everything contracts, everything slows down. So getting up and movement. Fluids are very important. Oxygen is very important. All of this in the interest of moving the blood. So there's so many strategies here in terms of nutrition, the digestive support, the healthy brain and heart pack, the healthy blood sugar pack, CFX, Zinc FX, ultimate niacin, ultimate selenium, I-26. There's so many nutritional supplements. From a strictly lifestyle perspective, food diary, elimination diet, correct leaky gut issues. Make sure that you're going ketogenic or paleo, or somehow lowering your intake of sugar, reducing your calories, relaxation strategies from the adrenal thyroid perspective. If any knucklehead out there tells you it's about your cholesterol, he's a knucklehead. Okay? It's not about your cholesterol. It's idiotic. And I don't even like saying that, because I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I want a doctor to come on here so I could tell him he's a statin prescribing doctor, so I can tell it to him. It's not fair. You know, I don't like having to just say it to lay people. I want to say it to physicians. I did a podcast with a doctor. It's really funny. He was a statin guy. This was a long time ago. It was 20 years ago. And he was a statin guy. And my friend Michael Swirling, I don't know if you know him. He has a radio station called KSCO. And Michael's a troublemaker. He likes bringing different people together with opposite points of view. So he had a doctor come on, Michael the troublemaker. And so we talked it was an hour interview. And I just outlined the case, and this doctor, you can get it somewhere online. You can look this up. He didn't say anything. He couldn't argue Because I was saying cholesterol is important. You don't shut down cholesterol because you're trying to take care of the heart. I was just saying the same thing. I say to you guys, I say all the time. And about half hour into the interview, the doctor was like, you know what? I just remembered I have an appointment. I'm not kidding you. He really said this. He said, I got to go now. I just remembered. I have a meeting or an appointment. And he had to leave. He cut the interview short because they can't answer it. They can't respond. This is just stupidity. But because we don't trust ourselves, we've allowed them to make us feel foolish. We've allowed them with their big Latin words and their big, all the medical studies and all the pharmaceutical company research, cherry picked here and there. We've allowed them to make us feel stupid. I'm telling you, this is not a question of intelligence. This is logic. This is simple logic. You don't need a medical degree to understand anything I just said, and you don't need a medical degree to understand anything about how disease progresses or how disease can be reversed. And so for a stent is sticky blood. And I didn't tell you this, but when the blood becomes sticky, one of the things that happens is the lining, the vessels, the tubes, you think of like a garden hose with water in it, the garden hose becomes irritated. And when the garden hose becomes irritated, it starts to release inflammatory factors. And these inflammatory factors recruit substances. And the recruiting of the substances starts to stick on the vessels to protect the vessels from all the toxins that are flowing through. And this is where narrowing starts to occur. The narrowing is a protective response. This is where cholesterol starts to deposit and fats start to deposit. They're part of the protective response to the irritation, inflammation to the garden hose. So a stent, the doctors will put a stent because this is what they do. They'll put a stent, and you may need a stent. If we had been living our lives a certain way, and all of a sudden now our blood is clotting and it's sticky and sludgy, and you've got deposits everywhere, you may need a stent, or you may need to have some kind of bypass or some kind of surgical procedure done. You can't, if we let the situation deteriorate long enough, we may have to be put on a stent or a beta blocker or some kind of medication or have a bypass or some kind of surgical procedure to keep us in the game. But the goal should be to allow the body to start to reverse, to heal itself. And everything I said can be done for somebody who has a stent, somebody who's had a bypass, somebody who's been told that their arteries are clogged or whatever. They can start today. Last thing I want to say is there's a procedure that could be done to clean the blood. It's called chelation. chelation, chelation therapy. And all smart physicians do chelation therapy for themselves because they know good and well that it will add years to your life. Movie stars and Elon Musk and wealthy people who have unlimited or disposable income, unlimited income, or even just a lot of income, they do chelation therapy. So that's another way that you can do it. No surprise, doctors hate chelation therapy. They think it's pseudoscience. Tell your doctor about chelation therapy. He'll say, oh, well, there's no proof, blah, 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 blah. It cleans your blood. That's all you need to know. There are also nutrients that will chelate. For example, the CFX chelates. N-acetylcysteine, which is in the what's that called? Synaptive. Or not synaptive. What's the telomere one? I forgot what it's called. What's the one with the telomeres? Not the synaptive. I forgot what it's called. The one that's the anti-aging one for the telomeres. Immortalium. Right. Yeah, immortalium has NAC in it, and there's NAC in the new Rise and Shine or Rise and Restore supplement.
Rise and Shine, that's exactly what it is.
Rise and Shine, yeah. And also, as if there's not enough benefits already, you can get some chelation benefits from Fucoid Z. Okay, does that help you? That's a long 45-minute answer for your question about stents, but I think it's really important so you can see the mechanism, see how the whole thing progresses, so we can become powerful here. Make sense?
Yeah. Diane.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you. That was for Diane? That was your question, Diane?
Yes, that was. I've seen so many people getting stents at the moment. I was a bit like, what are they doing this for? So, okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And Kevin, I want Kevin's.
Kevin.
Are you able to get on, Kevin? No, he's got himself. No.
Kevin.
He is here, but there's too many frickin' buttons. Excuse my French.
Ah!
I'm on my phone.
There you go. Oh, well, now where did you go?
Oh, let me say also, I should mention plant-derived minerals also have chelating properties too.
Oh, don't tell me where have you gone, Kevin?
Kevin.
I tried to put a spotlight in on, and my thing may have moved and kicked him off. That wouldn't be funny. Oh, there he is. Wait, now, Kevin, stop moving
See what I
around.
mean? Far too many buttons, and I pressed the wrong button, and then I disappeared on everybody.
You
Go
did,
figure.
and I thought it was
Go
me.
figure.
Just press
Yeah.
add the spotlight, and you disappeared.
And now I'm multitasking, guys. So if there's a question, you'll need to throw it back at me.
Kevin, yeah, I like your new haircut, man. You're looking distinguished these days.
Yeah, my hair's the same.
Yeah.
It's what's happened. I used to have it growing at the back, and it's all sort of fallen and gone fuzzy, and it sort of seemed to have reformed on the front.
Okay, looks.
Oh,
Oh, that
that's
you have a
what
beard
it's
now.
done.
Did you never? You didn't have a beard? Did you not have a beard before?
No, it's a goatee, not a beard, mate.
A goatee.
You got to get it
Okay,
right.
No, he didn't.
Looking good. Looking good.
Yeah, no, I had the long hair. Remember, it was a foot down to. Well, it was about a meter long, but I chopped that off about 6 months ago. And so this is my Christmas look. This is like 5 weeks old.
I like it. I like it.
So,
What's going on? What you got?
all good down here. Sort of just getting out of the silly season. So I've just started my talks now. I had my first one last night, and we
Nice.
start
Where-
ramping up
in
our
person?
talks again.
In person or online?
Online. It's very hard to do in person these days. I'll start
Yeah.
ramping up my online stuff. Sorry, my personal stuff from June onwards.
All right.
The airline company starts flying out of our local airport here, going straight into the Gold Coast, Karen's town. So soon as that starts up, I'll probably pop over regularly for weekends. They're a very price efficient company. So yeah, very dirt cheap to cross the ditch. So then I'll start doing a lot more work. But in the moment, I'm just trying to get through what we've got here. Business is good.
Business good?
Business is very good.
Good deal. Well, you deserve it. You know your stuff, man. You guys are lucky to have Kevin Grundy down there.
Okay, Laurie seems to have a question as well. We are lucky to have Kevin.
Lori, yes. Wait, did you have a question, Kevin? I don't want to. Do we?
Do you have a
No,
question?
I was just being put on the spot, so I've just come forward.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Lori.
Hey, Ben. I'm
Lori.
doing a lot better. Thank you for your help with my health.
Okay.
Your support. And, since I made the horrible decision to let them take my gallbladder out years ago, what should I take, like, besides digestive enzymes when I eat?
Lecithin granules. Get yourself some lecithin granules. Do apple cider, not apple cider, dandelion greens or horseradish, Swedish bitters. Anything that's kind of bitter when you eat it will stimulate digestive juices and bile. I mean, it's hard to get bile, a big hit of bile without a gallbladder, but at least you'll be secreting it. Also, when you don't have your gallbladder out, there's a little tube that goes from your liver directly to the intestine. Usually bile goes from the liver to the gallbladder, and then it gets dumped into the intestine. When they take the gallbladder out, you get a little tiny trickle of bile that comes in from the directly from the liver. The problem is that trickle of bile is steady and it can irritate the intestine, and this is why people have diarrhea, chronic diarrhea, after they have their gallbladder taken out. So you got to be a little bit careful with that. And one of the best things you can do is to make sure you're taking care of intestinal health. And that would be the nightly essence, staying away from problem foods, the I-26, the ultimate microbiome, anything you do for intestinal health as well. And then also there are precursors, things that help you build bile, amino acid taurine, the amino acid glycine, and also essential fats. Finally, without a gallbladder, you're going to you may become deficient in nutrients that the gallbladder is required, or bile is required for the extraction from foods like vitamin A and zinc and selenium. And these are all, vitamin A in particular, are very important for healing and for recovery. So you got to make sure that you're getting your fat-soluble vitamins as well as your minerals, fat-soluble mineral or fatty minerals, I'll say, like zinc and selenium.
Okay, great. Thank
Very
you so
good.
much.
Thank you, Laurie.
And the ultimate enzymes, you know, you mentioned that already, but that's the ultimate enzymes too.
Awesome. Okay, so can we go to Carlo's question in the comments? I'll let you read it for yourself because that way I won't mess it up.
Arlo, let's see what we got here.
That's the one I copied and
Oh
pasted.
yeah, kidney disease. Okay, so kidney disease is just another one of those things. It's an epidemic. It's becoming more and more common. The kidneys, most people realize this, they're blood filters, but how they filter the blood is very fascinating. The filtering mechanism the filtering process is accomplished through very, 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 very tiny, microscopic, like you can't see them. They're invisible to the naked eye, vessels. Can you imagine a blood vessel that is so tiny you can't see it? That's pretty, isn't that amazing? It's like a thread, right? You look at a thread, it's really tiny, but you can see it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine something that is tens or maybe even hundreds of times thinner than a thread, than a piece of thread? It's like you can't see it. That's how thin it is. Isn't that to me, that just blows me away. Is that just me? That you can actually have a vessel that's moving fluids through it that is so small you can't see it. It's microscopic, right?
That's crazy, right?
Crazy, right? Well, these vessels are so tiny and so thin and so fragile that they're easily damaged. They're vulnerable. Right? We just talked about dirty blood. So imagine the blood is going through these tiny vessels. If there's dirt in it, or if it's inflamed, or if it's not moving correctly, the vessel is going to get damaged. The vessel will become destroyed. And of course, one of the most important of these destructive forces is sugar. And it turns out that kidney disease is sugar disease. And kidney disease and diabetes go hand in hand. So I don't know what he's saying. Carlos saying he's taking our kidney products. I don't really know what he means by our kidney products, but what he wants to do is take our healthy blood sugar pack. Kidney disease should always be regarded as dysglycemia, first and foremost, and dirty blood as well. First 2 points on the triangle of disease. Again, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but you can see how it just repeats and repeats and repeats because disease is generic. And while we have different parts of the body that are affected, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that there is a bodily breakdown, not where there is a bodily breakdown. That there is a bodily breakdown means just the body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Remember, there's only one disease. We got thousands of diagnoses, but there's only one disease, MBFA disease. What is that, Bronie? MBFA disease. My body is falling apart disease. Only disease. My body is falling apart disease.
I was thinking about one of the things that Doc has recommended to one of my elderly clients regarding kidneys function, and he also adds the Ultimate Daily Classic.
I'm not sure what the thinking is. The Ultimate Daily Classic, but the Ultimate Daily Classic is
To
great.
help the blood flow, because it's often, you know,
Why not? Why as opposed to the Beyond Tangy Tangerine?
No. Besides, obviously, as an add-on, you know, like
an add-on. All right, I would far be it for me to just
maybe he may need to add that to help get
yeah, I would be
hope, because hope's a good blood cleaner.
Hope is good, and I keep forgetting to mention that hope is a good blood cleaner, and I got to remember to mention that. That is true. Also, for kidney stones, you can help prevent the formation of kidney stones by acidification with lemon juice or some kind of citrus juice.
You could add that,
or even apple cider vinegar, for that matter, can do it. Acetic apple cider vinegar is acidic. Acidic acids will help break up kidney stones. Acid urine. Or acid fluid.
Well, hopefully that helps Karen, because Carlos is in Karen's room. So unless she wants to jump in and say anything more on that. But I have 2 questions from last fortnight that we didn't get to, so I want to ask those first. This lady, she drank a bottle of the True Boost, which is in the I'm not familiar with it because it's in the life force line, and within minutes became really itchy on my forearms and red neck.
What was it called?
face,
True
neck,
Boost?
chest.
It's called True Boost?
True Boost. And she
What
said
is
one
True
of
Boost?
the ingredients, let me finish, one of the ingredients was niacin, and I know niacin does it. Can you ask also why niacin would make you become itchy on the forearms
Yes.
and
Yes.
red on the neck?
Yes. Yes.
And would the alternate
Niacin,
daily niacin not be a good product to take? And I will.
yes. Niacin is a very powerful blood vessel opener, vasodilator.
Okay.
And the vasodilation is associated with various molecules that are linked to itching and heat and tingling. And some people find that very uncomfortable. I find it very uncomfortable if it happens. So there's a couple ways you can get around it. First of all, if you take it with food, it's less likely to occur. Secondly, if you take smaller doses, it's less likely to occur. Thirdly, it's less likely to occur over time, so your body gets used to it. Fourthly, there are no flush forms of niacin, which aren't as good because they don't have the same kind of vascular benefits or blood vessel or blood benefits. But they can help if you still want to use the niacin for your sugar or for your brain or for the digestive system or for other things. And that's niacinamide. Niacinamide versus niacin. It doesn't have the same benefits for your vascular system, but it does have all the other benefits, and it won't cause the flushing. But one of the best ways to protect yourself from the flushing is to make sure you're getting enough essential ultimate EFAs, as well as taking with food and smaller doses sometimes helps too. And then just take over time, if you keep using it, eventually you don't get the flush.
I actually heard someone we both know, say that they found if they added extra niacin, they did our ultimate niacin, they didn't get that.
Not everybody gets it.
Yeah, because it happens to me. Oh my goodness, not sure I feel like.
Yeah, it kind of feels uncomfortable for some people.
It does. It does.
It goes away. It's not like life-threatening or anything. It goes away.
Oh, no, it goes away. But yeah. And the other question that we didn't get to the other week is, can you ask what causes, now let me see if I can say this correctly, neurogenic rosacea that causes burning even when the skin doesn't look red?
You tell me. What's the cause of everything?
Dirty blood.
What?
Dirty blood.
Dirty blood, right? But that's behind everything. That's right. And that itself comes from a leaky gut, and that's really the cause there. But what you're looking at is inflammation. Inflammation at the level of the nerves. And the inflammation is following dirty blood and following leaky gut and rosacea and food. Everybody who has rosacea knows that they have food problems. Nobody's ever had rosacea that didn't know that certain foods will trigger their rosacea. It's pretty obvious because you just say every time.
There's a number of people who don't know that.
It's not that they don't know it; they just haven't added one and one together. Yeah, they have to know it because it happens. You eat a food and that happens, but they haven't really made the connection. Neurogenic just means nerves. Neuro means nerves. Genic means begins in the nerves. So neurogenic rosacea means it's a form of rosacea that begins in the nerves, and that's what accounts for the pain. Now, she says there's no redness. Yeah. The word rosacea means redness, so it's hard to have rosacea without having redness. So if there's no redness,
I don't know why burning, but not the redness. So
yeah, I don't know why it would be. I'm not sure why they would call it rosacea if there's no redness, because rosacea means redness. So that's just nomenclature. It doesn't really matter. The fact is there's inflammation, and that's affecting the nerves. There's a condition that's very similar that affects the nerves in the extremities, the fingers and the toes and the hands and the feet. That's called peripheral neuropathy. And that is also burning in the extremities. And again, that's also inflammation. And that's associated with toxicity as well as nutritional deficiencies as well as sugar.
Well, one of the things thank you, Ben. One of the things that I love to help with inflammation is my Coreo.
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's one of our hydration sticks, Ben.
It's what?
It's one of our hydration sticks.
Oh, I've never seen that. Coreo. Is that a...
What's in it? I was with a company that brought that in, and we have 5 different.
It's new.
Oh, 2020 we brought it in. Okay. It's a super antioxidant, And this is actually was the very start before we came across to longevity that started bringing my fibromyalgia into control.
Oh, okay.
And then when I had a talk with Doc and added the 90 and everything and got off all the bad foods, it just was the icing on the cake. So it's this is my quick fix. It's good for if you have
Very nice.
or
Okay.
migraines, you know, because you just add it to water and it hydrates you, but it also helps with inflammation.
Okay.
You have to check out our hydration sticks, Ben.
I will. I'll have to check it out. Thank you. I
There's
didn't know about that. I can't keep up with all the products. I just talk about a few of them because I can't keep up with all.
There's 5 of them all together. The Smart is out of stock at the moment because
What company is it?
it was Bennu.
Okay.
They came in with Bennu in 2020, January 2020. We came across, mate.
All right. All right.
Now I have one more question here.
One more. Okay. Gotcha. Give me a question.
Now let me see. This lady wants to know how to clean out the big C back out of her system. You know, we say it now because Trump took freedom of speech. That's back again.
Chelation is the best way to do it. Cleaning out the blood. That's what chelation does. Chelation cleans out the blood. So all the chelation stuff we talked about, plant-derived minerals, I didn't mention that, but plant-derived minerals are great chelating agents. CFX, MSM, Ultimate MSM, Fucoid Z, NAC, Ultimate Selenium. These are all great chelating agents. That's the main strategy. Clay, bentonite clay can do it. Zeolite.
Would doing either the liver either Dr. Arias's liver detox, or
always a good idea to do. That won't directly clean out it'll protect the body, but it won't directly clean it out of the blood. But yes, that's always great. Dr. Arias's liver cleanse is just a great thing to do for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. And this same lady suffers with bipolar, but has got off all her medication. So has a good way to help people, because I know a lot of people with bipolar. How is a good way to help people who don't want to take the drugs that they prescribe for bipolar.
For bipolar?
Yes.
Well, you know,
and to me it's a nutrition deficiency, but they're not. That's just me.
The problem with bipolar and depression and anxiety and these mental health problems is, yeah, nutritional deficiency can contribute, but there's this thing called adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And these ACEs are usually associated with those kinds of problems. Interestingly, bipolar, which we used to call it manic depressive disorder.
Yeah.
You ever hear that term? That used to be called manic depressive disorder. And now they call it bipolar. Psychiatric issues, which bipolar is, they're almost like not medical issues. And there's a lot of controversy around them. A lot of medical folks and scientific folks say these aren't medical problems. And it's very difficult because there's no test for bipolar. It's kind of a judgment call. You really don't have a blood test for it. There's no markers for it. It's kind of like a judgment call. So there's no real thing. It's just a way we are experiencing the world with ups and downs. Our emotions go up and down. There's no chemicals that are associated with it. So it's hard to really treat it chemically. That being said, there are nutrients that can be very important for keeping everything stable, particularly the B vitamins. And one of the best things about the Beyond Tangy Tangerine is how rich it is in the B vitamins. So that'd be the first thing to think about. The Ultimate EFAs can also be important for brain health. The Ultimate Selenium and the Zinc FX are important for brain health too. And also, by the way, the Fucoid Z is important for brain health, particularly against protection against excitotoxins, which are things that make your brain hyped up. That being said, bipolar is almost, and ADD is the same thing, ADHD. These are almost ways that strategies we use to distract ourselves from emotional problems, things that we have in the past. It's ways that we can kind of avoid focusing on psychological issues, maybe past traumas. And most people who have these kinds of issues have some kind of adverse childhood experience or post-traumatic stress or something along those lines. And that's a lot of people. Because we
Yeah.
have a culture in this country, and I'm sure in yours as well, that promotes adverse childhood experiences.
Yep.
It's, we don't really have great parenting skills or education skills, and our kids are really damaged. They come out damaged in a lot of ways. And so I'm hesitant to just use nutrition to treat those kinds of psychological issues. That being said, it's very important that kids don't go to school with after eating a high sugar meal or a high processed food meal, and not having nutrients that are especially important for the brain, like the B complex, like the ultimate EFAs, like specific minerals like magnesium and zinc and selenium. So while nutrition can contribute to it, I'm a little hesitant to say just use these nutrients the way I would say if somebody had a heart problem or autoimmune problem or diabetes or whatever.
But it can certainly would help, though.
Absolutely, and particularly the B vitamins and electrolytes in general.
Yes, it's an interesting thing you talk about the B vitamins, because there was a story on one of our local TV stations just recently, and I can send you the link to listen to it, where this guy's getting on and carrying on about having too much vitamin B6, and that it damaged his nerves and all that sort of stuff. And yes, really did a downer on supplements. And yeah,
it's unfortunate. That's the world we live in.
And so a friend of mine has a friend who is convinced that you don't need any supplements whatsoever. You can get it all from your food.
Have him come on so we can talk to him.
He's a school teacher.
Have him come on.
It's not a good time.
Put your money where your mouth is. We'll be gentle.
But anyway, well,
I'm serious. I feel a little uncomfortable talking behind people's backs.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not trying to.
Yeah, we always talk behind people's backs.
Not
when we talk about, I did it today. I talk about people behind their back. I don't like doing that. I want to talk to their face.
I don't like doing that either. But if they won't come on and won't.
They won't come on. That's the problem. So tell them, look, you really believe that all you have 4 food groups? Come on, put your money where your mouth is. Let's talk.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But most of them won't when it comes to the crunch. Anyway, so if there's no more questions out,
I do have a radio show I got to do. I got a bowl here.
So let's call it another day, and we'll talk to you.
Thank you, everybody. God bless you all.
Hang on a minute. Let me finish this off. So as I ask you all nicely here in Bronie's World, I ask you to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And as Ben has often told us, look at the triangle of disease. And when you do that, take care of your intestines, then you too, my friends, will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. God bless you all. I'll catch you again tomorrow here in Bronie's World. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Bronie.
Thanks, Ben.